All right. Well, here we are again. Another Pocket Change market report for October 23, 2024. Thank you guys for tuning in. So we had just done a PCMR a couple days ago. So what I did for the Wednesday edition of this report was do something a little bit more abbreviated. We're going to take a look at about 20, 21 listings as opposed to our standard 25. Just kind of recapping a few of the coins that have been selling on the marketplace. Paper money is a big thing these days, and we are very well represented on some paper money errors that you guys need to be on the lookout for. Um, Seems to me these things are coming out of the woodworks, which would indicate that the searchability of such pieces is very realistic. Um, you know, depending on where you're looking at, if you constantly go through a bunch of banknotes from the bank, I mean that could be one way that you could source these pieces. But I have a feeling that a lot of folks are buying up collections of these, or they're buying them at the shows and then trying to flip them to make that easy buck. Which I see all the time. Even I do that myself. That's all part of the game. And if you talk to a few dealers out there, paper money error is a very niche thing that could only be fully realized to its potential by selling it online, where you have kind of like a much wider audience. Oftentimes, you're going to have a lot of the people that are looking specifically for those notes. You're going to end up with like maybe five, six, seven of those individuals scouring eBay, and then they'll come across your listings, and then they'll be interested in buying them through the auction process. So we're going to take a look at that. Plus, I wanted to take a moment to talk about. I'm not going to say it's a long forgotten series because there's no indication whatsoever in the market that there's any slowdown in state quarter mid errors. We have one that popped up here this week that we're going to talk about, but also kind of springboard into how that market's looking like. And because of the lack of supply of any sort of meaningful mid errors for state quarters, it's really pushing the price levels up higher than we could possibly ever imagine. And if you have some of these pieces, I want to let you guys know that the market is certainly alive and well. It's not doing much to its potential because there's just no supply out there while the demand continues to stay hot. So we'll cover that as well. So all the items here today, all from the last 24 to 48 hours. Nothing graded. Everything's raw. Keep that graded money in your pocket and just sell it as it is. The cool thing about varieties and errors is that they sell for themselves. So it's not really going to take a whole lot of extra energy to sell these pieces if you need to, as long as you have the relevant stuff. There are people selling weird type of pieces that aren't really errors at all, like the "In COD We Trust" quarters. I mean, it's just an unfortunate type style that the Mint used to make the G look like a C, and it's really nothing at all. So there's a lot of market manipulation there. The L on rim leaking sense, again, another thing that just drives me nuts. Is not anything at all. Maybe just a master die kind of like issue there with that. I mean, if it comes up way too often and it's way too common, then it's not really gonna be anything at all. So, um, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and cover those particular items there as well. So on Whatnot, we put in our first pop up for Wednesday afternoon, 3 p.m. Pacific. Was it 6 p.m. Eastern? We have a pretty big event going on today on Wednesday. So if you can, we are highlighting some rarities. We got some Morgan dollars. We have a few Peace dollars. We actually have thrown in for the first time and kind of like spotlighted early half dollars as well. So we're going to have a number of those from the seededs to the caps. We're going to have a few of those represented as well in this show in the afternoon. All right. And then we have our show again on Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Again, this is like the show of shows. that we do every single week. It's very lively, lots of great giveaways. Of course, we do the giveaways in every show, but we're going to have US type. Bullion's pretty big these days with the price of silver and gold. People are selling, people are buying. It's really active right now. It's really cool to see. And then we also talk about world coins too. We have some of those available for the folks that want them. We normally carry some of the more popular countries, Canada, Great Britain, Latin America, China, and a few other countries as well. So come join us. If you haven't done so already, I have my referral link down below in the description box. If you sign up today, you get $15 off your first item. And there's no better time to do that than now when the holidays are hot and people are buying and they're selling. It's just, there's a lot of activity going on, and it's really exciting. It's a great time to be part of the hobby. All right, let's go ahead and jump in to these selections. It should be a relatively quick show beyond the first 5 minutes of just talk. All right, so we have a few of these much later dated paper money errors, and you guys need to know about these because they do exist. They are simply not a fairy tale kind of story here. 2006 $1 bill with a very slight gutter fold there on the left side. All right, which really means that the subject sheet had a wrinkle in it and it was simply printed over. All right, so that's what we have here. You can see it there on the left side of the note. The note itself has been around the block, so there are a lot of people that are very, very, I guess, naive in what this could be, or they just didn't care, But it's got writing on the front. It's a very well worn, very circulated piece here. And then on the reverse of the note, you can see the gutter on the right hand side, which means when all facets of the print process was done to this subject sheet, that wrinkle was never stretched out. So it printed all over the place and created the gutter. So this one here, $31.50 was the sale price off of 7 bids. Doesn't seem like a whole lot because the gutter is quite thin, and the note is contrary to popular belief, grade still really does matter. All right, so keep that in mind. There will always be a buyer for these. If you come across one and say just casual going through your change, your wallet, and you do come across something like this, it's a welcome find, and it will certainly equal some big bucks. The next one that we have here is a Lincoln Memorial cent. Now, what the heck happened on the front of the coin where there's no Lincoln, right? Was this thing, in a parking lot and it just got scraped to death? Not quite. This one was actually a Lincoln cent that split right in half after the strike had occurred. So somewhere out in the world, it might exist, is the other half to this coin with Lincoln on it, the date and all the things. It just doesn't have a reverse to it. Now this coin here does have some condition issues. It's got a very large carbon spot. Carbon is similar to what rust is to steel. It's very hard to get rid of, and there's really no way to treat it. Once it's on there, it's on there. So this one here sold for $36.45. Again, a coin that is not totally visually appealing for a lot of people. They'll look at things like this and then, kind of write it off for dead, I suppose. But there are collectors that want this in spite of its warts. The next one that we have here, this is an occurrence that we do see quite often. Now, are they as large as this, meaning the clip? Not quite. Now, this one here has 2 clips. Okay, one really large curved clip, as you can see, but it's also got a much smaller, very shallow sheet clip as well. That's right underneath the date, right there at the base of Lincoln's bust. All right, so it doesn't matter how a clip occurs. You're always, or for the most part, you're going to see a lot of Blakesley effect, which is an opposite side rim flattening, which is what we see here. You can see it if you look at the motto "In God We Trust." Right above "We and Trust" is where that flattening is. And that's going to be one of the things you're going to look out for to help diagnose correctly a genuine clip coin. So this one right here sold for $9.64. Clips generally kind of like the redheaded stepchild of the error community. But there are folks that collect these by date. So they're looking for clips for every date. It's kind of like a low budget way of creating kind of a unique collection of coin, and so, something that you can be proud to own. All right, now we're going to get into some of the nastiness. The paper money, again, is something from a completely different realm. We have a 1928E $5 legal tender note. The legal tenders have this red overprint. It spends in much the same way during that time as a silver certificate or any other piece of paper money during that time. So, the red legal tenders really doesn't differentiate itself too much other than it has red ink. It, pays off all debts and things like that as they should. This particular one, and we don't see legal tender errors that often, so I was quite taken aback when we found this one here, which has a large gutter fold right on the bottom right-hand corner. That thing is all accordioned out. I mean, it's really cool. It's very large. When we look at the back of the note, the note is very well preserved for how old it is. It's almost 100 years old. But you could see that area there on the bottom left-hand corner where that piece was unfolded to show this dramatic effect. So this one here, $499.95. I'd like to say that most of these examples generally show up in graded holders. This one, however, kind of a difference of opinion, it ended up still a $500 sale, which is quite good for this piece here. Thereby kind of showing all of us that, graded doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get all the money for it. You could very easily sell it raw and command the full market for it. The next one that we have here, a 1972D, Lincoln Memorial Cent, struck off center by about 55-60% there. Great when you have a full readable date. The coin's in generally pretty nice shape. I don't know what that black stuff is there. Could be carbon, could be a little bit of grease. Kind of hard to say. But great looking piece. It's a go into a collection that normally cares about the date compilation of these coins. This one sold for a cool, easy $50 bill. And this is something, ladies and gentlemen, that you could possibly cherry pick at a show or a coin shop. Dealers that care less about errors of this type, they'll throw in a bargain bid for $5-10. And then, if you recognize that potential right there, you could scoop that up for that price and then flip it up online where there's going to be more people, 100-fold, that look at it, and then you're going to get that sale. We also have a 1953 D over D. This is an RPM. This is one of the well-known repunch mint marks for the date and for the decade too. This is a good one. And the coin itself, call it like VF30-ish. It's got full wheat lines on the reverse. It's very well loved in today's commerce. Someone did save it from ultimate doom. But you can see that secondary Denver mint mark punched west of the primary. Of course, the 50s was kind of like a hotbed for RPMs. As mint employees, they tapped in those mint marks by hand. So there was a lot of room for error, and that's kind of what makes this a fun part to collecting, is identifying these. $8.44 was the sale on this one here. Another great RPM here as well. I found quite a few of these over the years. 1937, good date. D over D. If you can't find that three-legged buffalo, this would be, a halfway decent, comp prize, I suppose. It's not going to quite, cool the sting of a three-legged buffalo that's worth like $500-$700. But this one here, you can see very shallowly a Denver mint mark that's punched east of the primary on this one. You can see that extra outer curl there. The coin itself, probably like a fine 15, nothing too crazy grade-wise. But how about $21.11 with 2 bids? I mean, heck, that's pretty gosh darn good for this one. Considering that, the higher in grade it gets, it ends up being a $50 bill. It ends up being $80. You get the picture. Grade still really does matter to these. And then we have a few oddballs here. Stuff that me personally, I found quite a few of, but There was one seller that had a number of these particular Lincoln cents with little die chips and brakes and BIEs and things like that. So we're going to talk about it and kind of assess the valuation of these. So they all sold within the last day or so. 52D is the first one here. It does have some sort of like corrosion on the front of the coin, so please do note that as being a pretty significant condition type of item on there. So when we look at the date up close, check that out, man. It's a big old honking die chip connecting a few numbers of the date. It even goes up to the mint mark. Yeah, this is one actually I have no problem finding. I find quite a few of these, and they're quite dramatic, but never in my wildest dreams would think they'd be worth this kind of money. And I think I'm just probably short selling myself there. This one sold for $19.92. Shoot, and I probably have like 2, 3, 4 full rolls of these types from 52. That is crazy. I might have to dust these off and throw a few of them on eBay now that I know that folks are buying these. I tend to see these as like $5, $10 coins at the end of the day. This one obviously overachieved, but it might just be that people are discovering these wonderful die chips and brakes that exist out there. This is one such example. Here's another one too, and this one has come with a pretty good story. 1951D Lincoln Wheat Cent. Okay, nice condition. Probably a VF on this one. There you go. That die chip in the 5. Now this one, a lot of people in the past have said, "Oh yeah, that's a Denver mint mark punched right into the 5 of the date." And after seeing various progressions of these, a few of the big error aficionados in the community, like Ken Potter, they're like, no, this is just a die chip. It's not an errant, mint mark punch or anything of that sort. So these again, because of the previous coin, we do know that there were a lot of worn out dies and chips and breaks and cracks and things happening on these dies, and they were pushing these dies to the very brink of self-destruction. So this one here, $18.95. Again, I have a number of these. Now I need to pull them out and try and resell some of them. And then here's another good one here as well. 1953. This thing has a lot going for it. It's got the poor man's doubled die on the 3 there on the date, kind of similar to the 55. It's got the cracked skull as well. Another pretty glaring thing on this one. But most importantly, look at all the die chipping here. On Liberty. So this one right here is better known for the BIE, which the die chip forms to look like a letter I. This one is not doing a very good job at that. It looks very sloppy. It looks really just like a big die chip. And you can see the die chip connecting the rim to the L as well. This one sold for $17.92. Holy smokes. So between 3 coins, we have realized around $53, $54 here. And I'm come to the conclusion, maybe I ought to start selling some of these because I got them. And, the 3 did sell as buy it now hits. So there is that. I'm going to have to put them up and, they'll sit there for however long it takes before they do sell. But yeah, I mean, really cool events here. And you see it predominantly in the 1950s. More paper money. We're back at it again. We have a number back to back. I mean, this is kind of like a feast for the eyes here. 34A $10 Fed Reserve note. Very, very nice looking example. You got a few folds in there. It's fine. Circulated. Nothing really too big to see on the front. It does have a little written in 5 there above the second set of serial numbers. But boy, when we flip that thing over and we have this just grossly misaligned reverse print on there, I mean, wow. I mean, this thing, this is a great conversation piece. You show the front, it looks all normal, looks like just an old note, probably smells like grandmother's mothballs. You flip this thing over and you see this, and it's like, all of a sudden all the blood rushes to your brain in a moment's notice. $344 off 17 bids on this one. A remarkable sale. All right, just a huge sale. And again, just showing you don't need to grade these. They sell for themselves. Here's another one here. This one we know it's a misalignment of all epic proportions. 1985 $1 bill, a little bit later date. Okay, pretty crazy on the front, right? It's like how do we screw this up and still manage to release it out into circulation? And on the back, it's slightly miscut, so it's miscut and misalignment all in one package. $89.88 with 15 bids was the sale on this one. We also have this $1974 bill. This is probably the best looking, by condition speak, the best one out of the lot that this person did sell. So this one has what they call a butterfly fold. So that corner of the sheet was folded in and then printed over and then cut. So this one here, you can see the butterfly there on the top left. On the other side, you can see that there as well. So when folded in, it just, it looks like a folded corner until you unwrap it and unfold it. And it's like this thing here. $119.50, 19 bids for this one. And here's the 1988A $5 bill. This one is a true printed fold over. Check out the bottom right corner of this note. You can see part of the back of that, that green print on the reverse. But you could also see the fold too. So that corner on the sheet was folded over and then printed over. And then there you go. You could see that pretty clear as day here on this side with the omission of or the obstruction of that fold that was once there. $149.26, 7 bids. Beautiful stunner. 1957 dime. These are quite undervalued, and it's a clip, so I understand why. And that's what we have here. It's an earlier silver 90%er. It's in great shape, but they are still relatively common. It does have like a really shallow secondary clip there right above the B in Liberty. This one sold for $10.57 with 4 bids. If I knew I was going to be selling it for that little, I'd probably keep it. It's more of an oddity, and it's more of a bargaining chip when I go to like maybe trade for other coins, which I tend to do on occasion. Wild one here. So we do know that the 40% silver candy half dollars are clad. So they are layered with copper as well, which is what we have here. So this one is probably at one point was a clamshell lamination and was kind of helped along in the most crudest of fashions where it was bent back and then torn off to produce this thing. Yeah, and I've seen this before on 40%ers, and they all seem to be helped along in some way. You could tell because when you look at the edge of that silver, what was remaining there, that there's metal that's flipped up. So when you see that, obviously it was bent back. But yeah, this is a missing clad layer, previous clamshell lamination piece. Oftentimes I'll tell people just keep it as a clamshell. This one still happened to manage $210.95. It was a buy it now listing. So someone came in, hit the buy it now, and then took off with it. All right. Civil War tokens, they're coming around, slowly but surely. People that do collect into these, they've been collecting them for decades. And you're going to find some pretty interesting stuff on these. So they're all generally dated 1863. There might be a few dated like 64 or 62. One thing's for sure. Yeah, their spelling game was not on point back in the day. This one, if you look at the word importer, they put an extra OR in there. So it's importer of China, Queensware. I mean, cool. But I'm willing to bet there was probably quite a few of this particular Civil War token that has that spelling error. So, and I've seen other Civil War tokens with spelling errors on them as well. This one sold for $133.25, 20 bids strong on this one. And here's our state quarter. Been a while since we had seen a New York state quarter. This one also a Denver struck example. Off center. All right. The coins beyond like the year 2000 for state quarter errors, they're non existent. A lot of them kind of got scooped up about 15, 20 years ago, toward the beginning of this wondrous series that really reignited the hobby in some capacity, because it became like one of the true chase pieces out in circulation. It was like a mad dash to assemble folders and things like that. So yeah, this one ended up popping up, and again, there's just not enough inventory out there to fulfill the need. This one ended up selling for $31, but admittedly, it was put up as a buy it now hit. I think the seller probably short sold himself here. This is a tougher state, and I've seen this same particular state probably, and it's the Philadelphia too, about like maybe 8 to 12 months ago, sell for closer to $100. And, this one probably should have been in that same arena as well. But, the sale is the sale. It is what it is. And, yeah, I mean, if you got them, you might possibly entertain and possibly moving a few. It really depends. Unless you're really collecting these, then they are quite special. Here's might be one of our last pieces of currency. We actually have one more after this. 2006 dollar bill. Nice clean front on it, and then we flip it over. It's got a full 100% front to back wet ink transfer. Gorgeous, gorgeous piece. This thing's amazing. And it's on a much newer note as well. We had talked about the other piece earlier in the show, from 2006 as well, with the gutter fold. This one, a lot more meaningful here. $206.29. Great sale. 44 total bids. There were like eyeballs on this one. And someone came away the winner after the dust has settled. So amazing piece on a later dated modern rarity. 2000p, yet again another one of these. Sacagawea Wounded Eagle Reverse. The FS 901 Cherry Picker's Guide variety is one that is very common to find. I found a few of these myself. I've owned some of the highest graded examples as well. But there you go. The die gouge going through the eagle's breast feathers into the wing. There's one long one and a little short, tiny one next to it. That's what we're looking for on these, and these are notorious for coming out of vending machines, right? That accept the newer golden style dollars. $109.95. Proof is positive that these things sell really well. And then the final item, we gotta hit it off on just something absolutely banging. 1950A $10 bill with an inverted overprint. Yeah, the overprint's upside down. You guys catch that yet? Usually these are accompanied by miscuts. This one is not, which is kind of cool. It makes it a lot more cleaner than probably what it should be. I've owned a few of these, and they're on like dollar bills, and they're always miscut as well. The back of the note, it's a little bit cattywampus off center, but I mean, who could argue with this rarity? $352 sale here, 6 bids altogether. Again, not integrated holder. Don't grade them if you don't have to. But that's going to go ahead, I think, wrap things up for this show. We are officially getting into the busy season of the hobby, which is bringing up a lot of like questions, concerns, and a bunch of other imaginary things happening. Keep in mind, the information in these videos is for educational use only. Nothing is financial advice. Proceed with caution. Collect, grade your coins responsibly. And that's going to go ahead and do it for this one. Ladies and gents, we're going to get our day started with some fireworks. As usual, we got a big Whatnot show coming in this afternoon. It's going to be a busy one. Thank you for watching me and the video. If you enjoyed today's content, make sure you go ahead and do me a solid. Hit the like button. Feel free to share the video to your friends or to the coin group you're in. Feel free to subscribe. Subscribers are kind of slowing down a little bit. Would love the extra amount of support if possible. And that's it. I'm your host, Sean with Blue Ridge. You guys have a tremendous day. Keep on collecting, my friends. Go ahead and find your treasure as well. I'll see you next time.